Good morning. This is my fourth video of the six that I am to make, and the subject of the six videos is on the screen. Now in this video I'll discuss as to how China is today in a position to change the status quo of Kashmir. So this is really in two parts. The first part is to explain as to when China took the responsibility of the Kashmir issue, and the second is to speak of what is likely to happen after Operation Sindoor. So let me start with the first one. Things started on the 5th of August 2019 when India revoked 370 and 35A from Jammu and Kashmir. The next day, on 6th August 2019, Union Home Minister Amit Shah declared that the state of Jammu and Kashmir will now be two union territories, and Pakistan occupied Kashmir will be shown as part of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, and Akshay Chin will become part of the Ladakh Union Territory, and the maps were made accordingly. Now on 6th itself, China gave a very firm response and rejected this idea of Union Territory of Ladakh with Akshay Chin in it. On the 11th of August, External Affairs Minister Jai Shankar travelled to Beijing to meet up with his counterpart, Foreign Minister Wang Yi, and explained to him that while we are showing Akshay Chin in the new maps as part of Ladakh Union Territory, it will not make any difference to the line of actual control on the ground. The Chinese rejected the suggestion. Meanwhile, the Pakistani leadership was also extremely perturbed, and both the Prime Minister and the Army Chief then, Imran Khan and General Bajwa, they went to China for consultation, and both had a one-on-one meeting with President Xi Jinping. Next we know is that in April of 2022, Pakistan released its first national security policy, where I was also invited to attend. Now both the Prime Minister and the Army Chief spoke on the occasion. Now after that, I got the opportunity to speak with the Army Chief General Bajwa, and I asked him, I said, what about the Kashmir issue, which is your core issue? Because when I see the national security policy, it talks of development, connectivity and the human factor, and he told me that when he met President Xi Jinping told him to concentrate on development. What Bajwa did not tell me is that Xi Jinping had taken the responsibility of the Kashmir issue, which when I saw the events in subsequent months unfold, it became clear. So what happened was, then two things happened. One was happening on the military field and the other on the political side. On the military side, in October 2019 itself, the number 2 person in the Central Military Commission, the senior vice chairman of the PLA, he travelled to Pakistan and spent a full week there, which is unusual. He met up with the entire political leadership and separately with the 3 service chiefs, and gave total assurance of PLA and China's support to the Pakistan military, which we saw happened. They got the military technology, they got the military assets, and both the military started doing advanced military exercises. By 2021, news came that senior Pakistani officers, they were embedded in PLA's Xinjiang military division responsible for Ladakh, and the Western Theatre Command responsible for Tibet. And most important, they were embedded in the Joint Staff Department, the highest operational headquarters of the PLA, responsible for conventional war and nuclear war planning. This showed that what India did on 5th August 2019, what implications it had. It really brought these two countries openly in a tight embrace. So this is one part of the thing. The second part is that on the political side, President Xi Jinping, he visited India for the second informal summit with Prime Minister Modi in October 2019. This was held in Mahabalipuram in Chennai. And the Indian officials told the media that the two leaders discussed trade. Now you don't expect Xi Jinping to come here just to discuss trade. That any official could have done. Obviously there was much more that he discussed, and that we got to know when Foreign Minister Wang Yi, who was part of the discussion, part of the second informal summit, on the way back he spoke to the media, and that got reported in the Hindu newspaper that Xi Jinping had given a very important message to Prime Minister Modi, and that was that there was a need for peace in South Asia, and for that a triangular relationship, a peace relationship was necessary. A relationship of peace between India, China and Pakistan. This is the first time at the senior most level of China the president had spoken about a triangular peace relationship. Now obviously he would have then in this said that as far as India-China is concerned, India needs to reconsider its decision of showing Akshay Chin in the new maps of Ladakh Union Territory, and he would have also said that for peace between India and Pakistan there is a need for the two sides to bilaterally discuss the Kashmir issue, and obviously all this was rejected by the Modi government. Now as far as China was concerned, next we know what they did. In April of 2020, the PLA made deep incursions into East Ladakh, came to occupy Indian territory, and today they are at most places in East Ladakh close to their November 1959 line. Now the only pending issue was the Kashmir issue, for which Xi Jinping had committed, but nothing had happened so far. Now let's come to Operation Sindoor and the outcome of Operation Sindoor. Obviously the Chinese are very happy with it, because they have noticed that their weapons have done very well in the hands of the Pakistan military, and the world by and large accepts that today India and Pakistan militaries, they are peer competitors. Now this is a big thing. So the Chinese have come in open support of Pakistan, so much so that one of their senior commentators, Dr. Victor Gao, when he was asked by an anchor of an Indian television about what sort of a support China is given to Pakistan, very brusquely he said that nobody should double guess the relationship between China and Pakistan, which is ironclad. The Chinese commentators are usually not brusque or curt. I won't use the word curt, but they are never so brusque. But now they want to speak things very clearly and very plainly to the Indians. It is against this backdrop that the Pakistan Prime Minister, obviously after due consultation with the Chinese, offered peace with India if India was willing to discuss three issues, and they are water, trade and Kashmir. Kashmir, as we know, is their core issue. Now on water, after the Pahalgam massacre, the Modi government put the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance, and now it says it is in abeyance indefinitely. Now what this means is that this will not stop the flow of water to Pakistan, but what it will do is that it will deny the Pakistan officials the water data, which will disrupt Pakistan's water management. They will not have the forewarning of the impending drought or a flood there, which of course is not acceptable to China. And how we know that is, at another television channel, Victor Gao, when he was asked about this treaty, that this Indus Water Treaty and what India has done and how does China react to that, he said, don't do to others what you don't want to be done to yourself. He was clearly referring to China, India and Pakistan. China is the originator where the Brahmaputra originates, and the Indus originates in Tibet. And then that river comes down, becomes Brahmaputra in India, and then the Indus through India then goes to Pakistan. So he said that at the uppermost level is China, at the middle level is India, and at the lower level is Pakistan. So in this context, he gave a very stern warning. But when he was further probed that why should China get into this, because Indus Water Treaty is a bilateral matter, he replied that China may need to step in whether India likes or not, whether it is bilateral or not. This should give a very clear message about what the Chinese intend to do, and how they want to support Pakistan. Let's talk of trade. We know that again after Pahalgam, the trade between India and Pakistan has been completely stopped, even the third party trade, third country trade. Now, as far as bilateral trade between India and China is concerned, that is not officially stopped, but all efforts are being made by the Indian side to ensure that the Chinese imports are minimal into India, but obviously they have not been successful. Because when you see the figures of 2024-2025, the imports from China into India stand at $113 billion. And this includes electronics, the chemicals for pharmaceutical, electric batteries, solar panels, machinery, basically all the industrial items are there. And as far as the exports from India to China are concerned, they are a measly $14 billion, essentially the iron ore. In fact, the Indian government, this production linked incentive scheme, which is really about Atmanirbharta, but in a way it is meant to stop the Chinese products coming into India, has not been successful because India still does not have a domestic supply chain which is well developed. So a lot of material are still coming from the Chinese supply chain. So the point to make here is that if we listen to Victor Gao and his point on the water, nothing stops China from ending all trade with India, because in any case the Chinese are now convinced that India does not want to normalize relations with China. And as I said in my last video, China has now become a dominant player in South Asia. Now let's come to the Kashmir issue, the core issue of Pakistan. Now we heard President Trump, the American president, say that he would like to mediate on Kashmir if the parties want him to do that, and obviously India is not interested in any mediation because India says this is a bilateral matter. But as far as China is concerned, China is today not only a party to the Jammu and Kashmir, because when you see the erstwhile Jammu and Kashmir, in that China is today sitting in East Ladakh physically. As I said, Xi Jinping has also taken the responsibility for the Kashmir dispute. Kashmir issue, talks on the Kashmir issue. So what does it mean? It actually means, when you put everything together, that there is pause in Operation Sindoor. And as I said in my last video, given the way the Chinese are supporting Pakistan, in about 12 months they'll have the capability for a hot war. And considering the sharp response of Victor Gao on the water issue, he may not have spoken so sharply on Kashmir today, but 12 months is a very long time in geopolitics when it is in a total flux. Thank you.